Hello, hello. Welcome back to TARTLEcast. We were discussing the absurdity of Greenland.
Yes, Alex.
Were you crying?
Yes, I was. I was laughing so hard right before this. I'm reading the article that we're going to be talking about, and then I made a comment, and you started busting out laughing, and I started crying.
It was so funny. But, and I'm not going to share it with anyone because that's just for us. That's our own internal funny. When we have, guys, we've got a giant world map over here, and everything's beautiful, colorful. It has all the textures of like mountain ranges and everything across Russia, China, South America, North America. And then you just got this big light blue blob of Greenland.
Yeah.
The whole country makes no sense.
No.
I know that I used to work with a woman whose father lived in northern Norway. And he found in his yard, underneath the ice, fossilized palm trees.
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And what that kind of, when I look at that, what that kind of tells me is that there must have been a polar shift. And the pole of the Earth, the magnetic pole, must have been somewhere like around the line of where Florida is. Because if you needed to shift like the hemispheres and like the temperatures,
right,
like almost like the pitch of the Earth, in order to get such a temperate thing, to get a palm tree up in Norway, it would have to be down, the North Pole would have to be down where Florida is.
Well, haven't they done it where they've kind of put all the countries together and it made like a puzzle?
Yeah, so like Pangea,
kind of
how they kind of like spread out.
Yeah.
All planets are expanding.
Yeah.
All the time. They're all growing in size. The larger a planetary body grows, the more round it is. Earth isn't perfectly round. The things that are closest to being perfectly round are things like Jupiter.
Right.
Because it's so big. And the sun is so large. It's something that is almost perfectly spherical. But what I think is interesting about that is that Greenland probably had palm trees on it. If you had palm trees in northern Norway some tens and thousands of years ago,
right,
when there was a pole shift, I bet you underneath the ice in Greenland, there is probably tons of lush palm.
Yeah, well, I had talked to somebody and they had this view of canopy theory, where there was protection of ozone. So there was like the Earth, all of the Earth was like perfectly like 80 degrees. And then there was a water canopy over it that would separate. And then that's how people were able to live 800, 900 years. In the Bible, it talks about that, but there's lots of older manuscripts that talk about people living forever.
Yeah, living a long time. That's interesting. Right. Abe Lincoln talked about weird stuff like giants living in the U.S.
Yeah, he was one.
And underneath some of the Indian burial sites here in the U.S., there are giant's bones.
Yes.
I don't know where he got his info from.
Yeah, I don't know either, yeah.
But I think that's interesting. You can check out the burial sites in Ohio.
Have you seen, speaking of the opposite of giants,
which
are little people.
Yeah.
Have you seen China, that new thing that they're doing with...
no.
So you can literally... no, this is no lie. They're literally cutting what's this, femur?
Okay.
Is this the big...
No, the femur is up here, and this is your shin.
Yeah, the shin. So they're taking the femur and the shin, cutting it. And then they stretch it, and then they have some way, but the bone is actually growing back in between. Oh,
they're lengthening people's legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird surgery.
Yeah. And it takes like a year and a half.
I'm already 6'5".
Yeah, you don't need that. But
is it really necessary to like want to be taller?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how, in ancient Chinese culture, they had foot binding?
Right.
Let's make feet smaller because it's a sign of beauty. And now they're like, we got to be taller.
Yeah.
Talk about going to the polar opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's crazy because I know a lot of people weren't very tall back. Like Napoleon wasn't that tall.
No.
I heard he was pretty short.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Is it the Napoleon complex?
Yeah, Napoleon complex, like my dog. But I don't know. I mean, what's the big deal about being tall? I mean, I'm tall. It's a roll of the dice.
Well, the problem, like one guy that has, because I think it's a hereditary thing where it's like dwarfism or whatever. That always sounds funny to me because I always picture, what is it, Sleeping Beauty? No, not Sleeping Beauty.
Which is Snow White.
Snow White, yeah. And those little grumpy guy. And all
I only think,
the picks.
Why do they always make him grumpy? Like I think of Lord of the Rings.
Got like a big, and then they got like a big mustache and beard.
Yeah.
they're actually able to. It's stage 3 right now.
Stage 3, what?
Medicine, where if they know that
Like
you
FDA
have
stage 3?
Yeah, FDA stage 3. That if you have this, because it's a genome issue, that their faces look different and their body is smaller and all that.
Dwarf. Yeah. Thank you
Like
for
dwarfs,
explaining dwarfism.
But no, that they can inject this into a child and it cures that.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy, the advances in medicine we have going on now?
Like, why is that? I don't know how many dwarves are around the world, but it's interesting that there's medical investment, financial investment going into that. I think it's just a strange thing.
Yeah.
We're curing dwarfism before we cure cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
Come
yeah.
on.
I think it's great. I mean, I know there's a lot of health issues, and I know, but it may have been an offside of working on something else. Or they could have been looking at that gene mutation.
They were probably doing some sort of cloning thing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, look what we found. We can cure dwarfism too at the same time.
Yeah, because I know the site. I was listening to a PhD from Stanford, Andrew Huberman was his name, and he's a neuroscientist for eyes. And they pretty much got the whole blind thing.
Unlocked.
Pretty much. They said within the next 5 years, everybody that's blind will be able to see.
I love that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, seeing is such an important sensory thing. And speaking of seeing,
and being able to see out,
nice job with the bridge. There's a nice advancement that is happening with astronomy.
Yes.
So down in the Rubin Observatory, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Down in Chile. It's a great place because it's nice and dark, very high altitude, so the air is thin and you have less diffraction coming through the atmosphere. So what that is you get these thermal waves that cut across the atmosphere and it distorts your imagery. That's why stars twinkle. But there's something interesting that they're doing with the observatories is that observatories naturally collect so much information, but a lot of the observatories have been limited by their infrastructure, their data infrastructure. It's like, we only have so many servers here at the observatory, to crunch numbers and actually catalog and store this radio telescope data that they're actually collecting. And so because of that, you have slower processing times. You can't share the information as easily because it's locked down. It's very, siloed at the observatory itself. So Google has partnered with the Rubin Observatory down in Chile, and the observatory isn't live yet, but it's a newer one, so that all of the radio telescope data that they're going to be pulling from the universe as they observe it is all going to be put into the cloud. And because the cloud is a naturally scalable and flexible infrastructure, and the cost of storage has dropped, dramatically. It's so cost effective, to store things in the cloud rather than own your own, hard infrastructure there, that the observatory is like, yeah, we would love to, partner with Google and their cloud structure for storage, because we're looking to ingest would they say 500 or? Yeah,
it was, let me get it right here. My phone is
petabytes, 500 petabytes
with the
5,000.
With the Best Buy ad.
So 5,000.
Best Buy is like just screwing me up on this.
It's 5,000 petabytes.
Yeah, it's called the Large Synoptic Survey Telescope. And it's just taking pictures.
All it does over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah. It's a 3,200 megapixel camera is for that. Look at this. Look at this. Just Best Buy.
Best Buy get a full ad like that?
Look at this. Now it's not letting.
No, that's insane. But I think it was somewhere around 5,000 petabytes,
right?
Which is something akin to 500,000 terabytes.
Yeah, but when you think about that much data being, and I had read an article, and they were talking about, like, it's not a picture like we would see. It's not like, like you could, it's one that the machine learning can understand the picture easier than, so if we look at the pictures, it wouldn't make sense to us.
No, a lot of it. So a lot of them are layered.
Yes.
Like over here in New Mexico, we have the very large array, and it's across a 22-mile span so that they move these huge radios, radio telescopes. And what it's doing is it's sending out a radio signal and waiting for it to bounce back. And then it collects that information. They shift it in 3 different sets. So one's a very narrow set. It's like A, B, or C. One's a mid-width, and then one is full 22 miles apart. And that gives 3 different sets of resolutions. And then those resolutions, when you look at them, it doesn't tell you anything. But when you begin to layer them with computational technology, then you actually get an image. then you start to get something that makes sense. So when you have, something that's, taking pictures in frequencies of light that you can't see, I mean, it's not going to do you any good, but when the computer can analyze that data, especially so many, 32,000 megapixel pictures being taken, now something special can happen. And when you afford yourself the computational power of many servers across the globe for cloud storage to analyze this, it removes a lot of the computational burden on the laboratory itself or the observatory and can offload it on the computers. And then they can efficiently process so much data to drive answers quicker from, any sort of astronomical observation.
Yeah. And I think I would hope with that amount of, all these observatories taking these pictures that we'll get a craft on one of them.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
You would think.
Yeah, you would hope.
Yeah, that it would be released.
Well, the funny part is like, you ever look through a telescope?
Yes.
You're looking at something really far away. So if something is relatively close, it'll just goes right by too quick.
Yes, yeah.
It'll just be out of resolution. So whatever you're taking a picture of, it'd have to be super far out there.
Yeah.
Even though the resolution's high, you get a picture of a star, it's millions of light years away.
Yes.
That craft would have to be enormous.
Yeah, it would have to be.
When I say enormous, it would have to be so big you could probably not fathom it. But no.
Yeah, see, we don't even think about that. We're like, we could just take a picture of this small spaceship just scooting on by.
Could you imagine trying to lock that in on a telescope? Something just.
Oh yeah, I bet they have technology for that though nowadays.
Well,
I know satellites they can do that here. You can lock it on a person.
Well, Raytheon had their missile tracking, like when you're in a fighter jet. That's an incredible technology. There's a little square and it tries to catch up to it. And right when it's on it, it's on it. And it'll track that thing as it's going thousands of miles an hour.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
It's really amazing.
Yeah, I love that stuff. So when we look at data and we look at, we can obviously Google is helping science here. But when we look at TARTLE and we look at our ability to be able to help humanity.
Yeah.
What does that look like, especially when it comes to our philosophy on data?
Yeah, so let's look at the stars as a metaphor. When you get all these different observatories across the globe collectively focusing on one thing, we get a very clear image. We can analyze a black hole and all of the data to truly understand what's going on. We can search for that antimatter because the targeted focus of all those resources on one specific thing. It's like all those telescopes are beaming into one isolated position in space. And that allows us to derive some sort of answer. If you pair that over to what we're doing with TARTLE, what we're doing is we're getting all the people all over the globe to take their data and target it towards one specific cause that they may care about. And then when we have that, we can define very clear pictures and put all of our evidence together so that we can solve whatever that thing might be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, when you did that, you pointed to Greenland.
I can't. Greenland haunts me.
Yeah, you keep looking at it.
It's something about it. I got this weird attraction to Greenland today.
Yes,
okay,
yeah. There's something up there.
9:30 a.m.
There's probably
Christmas Eve.
There's probably an oath tree.
Yeah, there's probably an Isla up there. Yeah, that's right. There's a big palm oath tree up in Greenland.
Well, we've gone a few minutes over. Talking about this.
But did that make sense, my metaphor for our...
Yes, yeah, no, I think it did. And I hope that helps people, especially those that are interested in astronomy.
Yeah, listen, it's collective power.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
And we would love to help any type of astronomy with TARTLE. That would be easy.
Absolutely, whatever you want to know.
Data, yeah.
And wouldn't astronomers want to analyze what people are just naturally observing?
Yes.
Would research labs want to purchase amateur telescope data? Of course they would.
Yes.
Why not?
Yes.
There's so many other people collecting things and we can bring them all together. You're doing a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, we're the eBay of data.
Yeah. Yeah, we're like it's like eBay and Acorns blended together. Earn money over time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I can also sell my data. This is great.
Somebody will want this.
I hope they do.
It's a collectible. Somebody wants it.
Yeah, it's a collectible. Whether it's my data's a collectible.
I was looking at we're going to squirrel here, but I was looking at, because I have all those Starbucks mugs of where I go somewhere.
I've been drinking.
You got the Washington State one.
I've almost spilled this coffee 10 times.
I think it has Sasquatch on it.
There he is.
Of course, I noticed that first.
Yeah, that's the only thing you're looking at.
Yeah.
Can you look at something normal like the goat?
No. But speaking of goats, I have goat protein. Isn't that, you saw that yesterday?
I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah. So they have,
Isn't that because goat milk's closest thing to like breast milk in terms of digestibility?
You know, and I know that, yeah, it's supposed to be more digestible and cleaner. But where this supposedly come from, the goat farm, they feed them apple cider vinegar every morning, and everything's organic.
Sounds like my diet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You need to take apple cider vinegar every morning.
Why do you think the Greeks were obsessed with it?
I take a tablespoon. How much do you take?
I just chug.
Yeah, you chug apple.
I chug until it burns.
Yeah, I can't do that.
That's really disturbing.
I don't know how much you're supposed to take, but
I don't know.
I know I get your enzymes and everything flowing in the morning before you eat.
Gets me jacked up.
Yeah, just ready. Speaking of that, getting jacked up, let's go to Greenland.
Yeah, see ya.
Let's dig.